I still remember the sound before the ramp dropped. Not gunfire, not orders, just breathing. Dozens of men crammed shoulder to shoulder in a landing craft, water sloshing at our boots, the air thick with salt, diesel, and fear. No one spoke. No one blinked. We all knew that the moment that steel door slammed open, God might not be fast enough to save us. It was June 6, 1944. We were heading for Omaha Beach. The coding name meant nothing. What waited for us? There was not a beach. It was a killing ground. They told us the bombing would soften German defenses. They told us we'd outnumber them. They told us the worst was behind us. They lied. When the ramp dropped, the world erupted. Machine guns opened up from the bluffs. Bullets tore through water and flesh alike. The first man off the boat took a round straight through the helmet. He never screamed. He just vanished. I dove into the surf, choking on seawater and blood. Men flailed, sank, floated. Some tried to drag the wounded. Some just tried to crawl. The water turned black with fuel, red with blood. This sand that gave no cover. Mortar rained down, tearing holes in the surf like the ocean itself was bleeding. I crawled behind a tank trap, one of those twisted steel hedgehogs, bullets pinging off it like hail on a church bell. A kid next to me couldn't have been more than 18. Clutched a rosary with bloody fingers and asked me, "Are we already dead?" I didn't answer, because in that moment, I wasn't sure. They called it the longest day. But it wasn't the hours that stretched. It was the seconds. Every breath a gamble. Every inch forward a question. Do I die now or in 3 steps? The beach was on fire. The air was full of screams. Not war cries, but raw human panic. I watched a man's leg get blown clean off. He tried to crawl with one arm, dragging his rifle like a crucifix. No one stopped. We couldn't. You didn't look for friends. You didn't look for order. You looked for something to hide behind and prayed the sand would spare you. Somehow, I made it to the shingle ridge. Behind me, the surf tossed helmets like seaweed. Ahead of me, barbed wire, bunkers, and a wall of lead. And yet, through the smoke, through the terror, somehow we began to move forward. Not because we were brave, but because there was no way back. In part 2, I'll take you beyond the wire, into the bunkers, where the real battle began.
By the time I reached the shingle ridge, my hands were shaking, my helmet was gone, and I was half deaf from the screaming. But I was alive. Behind me, the surf still chewed up bodies. Ahead, nothing but obstacles, fire, and murder in concrete. The Germans had turned Omaha into a fortress. Pillboxes dug deep into the cliffs. MG-42s mowing down anything that moved. Mortar pounding the shoreline like war drums. And we were ants crawling toward a furnace. A sergeant crawled next to me, dragging a wire cutter in his teeth. He was missing 3 fingers. Didn't care. He just grunted. We cut that wire, or we die here. So we moved. Low, slow. Through barbed wire, body parts, and burning gear. Behind us, Navy destroyers inched closer to shore, firing point blank into the bluffs. The shockwaves rattled our bones, but it gave us cover. Somewhere in the chaos, someone shouted, "Bangle!" Metal tubes slid under the wire. Boom. The earth shook. A path opened. We surged through it, maybe a dozen of us, and immediately came under fire from a machine gun nest just 50 feet ahead. You could hear the bullets snap past your ears. You didn't think. You ran. You fell. You crawled. I saw a flamethrower team move up. The guy in front took a round to the chest. The tank on his back exploded in a roar of fire and screaming metal. We kept going. I threw a grenade into a bunker slit and dove behind a mound of rubble. The explosion shook the concrete, and when we stormed in, the only sound was the whimper of a wounded German clutching a photo of his family. He couldn't have been older than me. War makes monsters out of boys. But in that moment, he just looked human. We cleared bunker after bunker. Some fought to the last breath. Others surrendered, hands shaking. We used flamethrowers, grenades, bayonets. There was no clean kill. Every inch of that hillside was paid in blood and breath. By early afternoon, we finally linked up with the next wave inland. Someone laughed, a broken, hysterical sound, and yelled, "We made it," but we didn't cheer. We didn't smile. We looked at each other. Muddy, soaked in blood, faces blank from the things we'd just seen. Because victory didn't feel like winning. It felt like surviving something no man should have to. In the final part, I'll tell you what happened when we left Omaha behind and realized that for all we'd endured, Normandy was just beginning. We thought the worst was over. We thought if we survived Omaha, everything after would be easier. We were wrong. Once we cleared the cliffs and linked up with the other units, we moved into the French countryside. And that's where the war changed. It stopped being a storm of bullets and became something quieter, more personal. The hedgerows of Normandy were a nightmare. Tall, thick walls of earth and brush that turned every field into a trap. We couldn't see anything, couldn't hear until it was too late. 1 minute we were walking. The next, machine gun fire erupted from 10 feet away. I saw a lieutenant go down. His helmet spun into the weeds like a coin. We returned fire blindly. Bullets snapped through branches. Men crawled through the dirt like animals. And when it was over, you counted your friends by who was still breathing. We passed through farms where cows lay rotting in the sun, buildings pockmarked by shrapnel, villagers peeking from cellars, their faces hollow with years of occupation. Some cheered us. Some cried. Some just stared. I remember giving a little boy a can of beans. He didn't say thank you. He just held it like a trophy. Like something precious he didn't think was real. And that's when it hit me. We hadn't come to win a war. We'd come to unbury a world that had forgotten what hope looked like. But there was no rest. Each day brought another ambush. Another crater. Another body to carry. By the end of June, I had stopped learning names. Too many, too fast, too painful. You learn to recognize a man by his boots, by his voice when he shouted for ammo, by the way he folded his letters home. And then one day, he'd be gone. Just gone. No final words. No music. Just a helmet lying on a trail, a rifle still warm. And still, we moved forward. Because that's what D-Day bought us. Not victory, but a beginning. A beginning paid for by thousands of boys who never made it off the sand. Boys who drowned under machine gun fire. Boys who bled out in ditches, calling for their mothers. If you ever visit Omaha Beach, don't just take photos. Listen. You'll hear the surf, you'll hear the wind, and if you listen closely enough, you might hear the echoes of men who chose to run toward death, so that others could run toward freedom. Thank you for watching Battle Reborn. If this story moved you, subscribe, share, and remember, history isn't written in ink. It's written in blood, in sand, in silence, and as long as we tell their stories, they'll never be truly gone.